Welcome csc200 to ex1b, part 2 of our Python Anywhere kind of setup practice exercise for spring 2021. And I'm recording this new just because I think it'll be less confusing if I just do this new. And I'm in my warren right now, and where you're going to want to go is to Documents and Resources. And this will be under Unit 2, and there's two items here. There's the zip file, which you're going to download, and there's the instructions, which you might want to click on. And in Chrome, they'll open up in a separate tab. So here's my instructions. I'll zoom in a little bit. I do have the instructions for part 1 here, or at least kind of an overview, but you're going to be starting here with this stuff here. So this is what you're going to do. And I'm going to go back to Documents and Resources. And what I'm going to do is download this file. And it has to be zipped to even get through my warren. That's why it has a .zip. And I do have videos about unzipping files in Mac and Windows, but I'm going to do this on a Mac. If you have any problems unzipping, just let me know. But I'm going to click on this zip file right now, and there it is. And on a Mac, I can just double click on it and it will unzip. And there it is. It'll be called presidents.sql. On Windows, you'll have to extract it. Again, if you have any issues with that, let me know. But just for now, this is under downloads. It's called presidents.sql, and it's unzipped, at least on a Mac for now. So it's in my downloads. What I'm going to do now is go to my instructions and just see what to do next. It says unzip, and then it says in Python Anywhere, go to the Files tab. Now, you should have done this already. I'm going to go to Python Anywhere. I'm logged in, and I'm under the Homa RCN account, and I'm in my dashboard, and I'm going to go to Files right now. And I did have a databases directory here, and you can see some of you may have used csc121 for programming 1 in the fall. If you have that directory, you can have a csc200 directory, or you could just call it databases. I just called it databases. Since that's what I have in the instructions, I'll leave it like that for now. And if I go into databases, there shouldn't be anything here. It should be empty. And this is where we're going to upload a file. Now, before I do that, just make sure that when you go to databases over here, you should have done this in part 1a, make sure that you have your database that you created, the presidents. It should be called your username $presidents. Mine is called Home RCN $presidents. And I already used the MySQL admin password when I set that up. So I already have that. So I want to make sure I go back to Files right now. And I'm going to go into my databases directory because this is where I want to upload it into that databases directory. And if you didn't, you just have to make sure you indicate the correct directory. But I'm going to keep it in there just to keep it safe. And I'm going to upload it by clicking this upload file. And I'm going to go into my downloads. And again, I'm on a Mac, and I'll just look for, and here it is down at the end because it says no date for some reason. But I'm going to use the SQL, not the zip one, because I wanted to unzip it. I'm going to use the one that has .sql, and on a Mac, I'll just click open. So I'm uploading this file, presidents.sql, and there it is. It's listed right there. I don't need to do anything else with it. Now it's in my databases directory. What I'm going to do next is go to my databases, and I'm going to open up the console in my database by clicking on this. And let me just check my instructions to make sure that's what I'm supposed to do. It says go to Databases tab after you upload, and it says click on the console. Now, we're just going to start the console for presidents. We're not going to just do a generic console. We're going to open up the one for presidents. So we shouldn't have to do a lot when we get in here. Even some of this is a little bit overkill, but I'll just show you some things. So I'm going to go here, and this will launch the MySQL console for presidents, not for any other database, but presidents. So it might take a second to open up, and there it is. And I have my MySQL prompt. Now, one of the things I could put in here in my MySQL prompt, you don't have to necessarily do this. You can start right where I have it to start. You can start right away and just use this, but I just want to show you something first. If you put show databases, I'm going to put show databases, and I'm going to put a semicolon, and I'm going to hit enter. And there it is. It took a couple seconds. It's showing all the databases. Now, by default, it's going to use my presidents one because that's the one I actually have open here. But if you want to just do this just to check, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to put select databases, and I'm going to put parentheses. The only time you're going to use a parentheses, or not many times. So I'm going to put select databases. I'll put a semicolon, and I'll hit enter. This should show me which one is selected. And actually, I think it's select database. And I'll try that again. There we go. select database, not databases. It's show databases, but select database. And that's showing the selected database. It's the HOMA RCN. So I was just showing that to confirm that that's the one it's showing. So you don't necessarily have to do this because it already is in there. Matter of fact, you don't even have to put use username database. You can actually start right with source because this is only to make sure that you're using the correct database. But I'm going to start right with this source, and it's going to be source space, and it's going to be your directory. Now, if you're not using databases, if you're using csc200 or something, use csc200 / presidents SQL. So I'm going to go back here, and I'll just type that in. And what I'm going to do to go to the top is do Control L. That'll take me to the top. And now I don't have that screen full of all my code there. So what I can do is type source and a space, and then what file am I going to use as my source? Well, I'm going to use the one that was this one if I'm in that directory, if I put everything in that directory. So it's going to be databases. Now, if you use a capital D, you got to use a capital D. If you use csc200, use csc200, but I use databases, and then I'm going to put a slash, and the file is called presidents.sql, and then I think I still have to put a semicolon at the end. So I'm going to do that, and what that should do is use all the instructions that are in my SQL file into that database. So I'm going to hit enter, and you might see some kind of error, whatever, but it should be okay. And even if you see errors like this and stuff, just try it out. The one thing you could do to try it out is just after the MySQL prompt is just say, you could say show tables and a semicolon, and you should see a president's table with a capital P. Let's see if this works. Okay, and there it is. Now remember, that database has a small p, the table has a capital P. So there's my president's table. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a query. Now this is a query, and we're going to put select all, and I'm going to use an asterisk, and I'll say from, notice I'm typing it all in caps, and then presidents with a capital P. Select all from presidents. I'm sorry, this is all at the bottom here, but select all from presidents. And I know that I'm selecting everything from the president's table, and I'm going to put a semicolon, and then I'm going to hit enter. And there it is. And I should have 44 items, and there's 44 down there. It ends with Barack Obama. This was an older database. And I could scroll up here, and you can see it's going across, and there's ways you can make it a little bit smaller, but that's fine for now. That's all you really need to do right now, is just make sure that you have this information in your database. And also, one thing that I want to point out, and a couple things, you should always kind of go over here. If you want to go back to your files, right click on files and open in a new tab. That way you don't have to get out of your console here. So I'll go here to my files, and one thing I just want to point out, if I go into databases, and if you click on this and open it up, this is the SQL file, and it basically has instructions to create the database, to create the table. It has create table, and it has the column names, and then down here it has insert into presidents, and it has the data and everything. We're going to learn how to do all that, but I just wanted to point out that that's how we make a database. We're just basically inserting all this data by using this file and using little commands here in the SQL file. It could be in a file, or we can actually type the commands. We could do this manually if we wanted to in console, but that would take a long time to do. And then if we screwed it up, we'd have to go back and keep doing it again. At least here we could write all this code first and then just source it. So that's what we did in our code. We basically just sourced this SQL file. That's how we got all the stuff in there, and we created a table. And we created a president's table with a capital P. And that's what we're looking at here when we do that. That's the president's table. So that's all you really need to do. You don't have to save this right now. You don't have to copy it. I even have a video for us to copy and paste this and save it as a text file. That's something we're going to do eventually, but you don't have to do that now. All that you have to do is just make sure that the stuff's in here and that you got your database in here. If you can see these 44 items or these 44 records that are in your president's table, you're good. That's all you need to do for exercise 1B. You could leave this open, or you could quit out of it, whatever you want to do. If you want to quit, just try quit. Go down here and just type QUIT, lowercase. You don't need parentheses, and you should put a semicolon usually, and it'll say bye, and it'll close up the console. It might not go away, but it'll be closed. And the good thing about doing that, since we're limited to 2 consoles, that'll close up the console. So if I go back here, everything's pretty much done. Now I'm in my files right now. I didn't save anything. I didn't change anything. So I could always just go back here and just go back to my dashboard or whatever. But there's nothing else I have to do here. I can go in here and look at your database, because here's your database. If you ever need to start it again, you could go back to databases and just click on this. This will initiate your MySQL console to start running queries on here. But once you're done for this assignment, all that you need to do is go back to here, and luckily it didn't close out, and just go to coursework. So I'm going to go to coursework, which is down at the bottom this semester. And you're going to look for ex1b, that's under Unit 2. And we're going to have more stuff here for Unit 2. But for now, you're just going to go here, and you're going to click on here, and you're just going to add a comment. And you're just going to say, complete it. You could just do this, say complete it, and just put your username until I get used to your username. And my username is HomaRCN, so I'll just put HomaRCN. But whatever your username is, just put it in here. I know you put it for the first assignment, but just put it here just until I get used to it. Just say complete it, and your username, and then you're done. And just hit save. That's all you need to do. No links, no nothing, because as long as you indicated that I'm your teacher, I will be able to go into your account and look at it, because I already looked at some people's accounts already. So that's all you need to do for ex1b. It's basically just setting up your database, uploading data from an SQL file, and just running one query to show everything. That's all we did when we showed everything. We just ran one query, and we're going to do more with queries in our next exercise. So this kind of ends our intro part of Python Anywhere for using MySQL. So make sure you have everything set up for exercise 1A and 1B.